Hi, today we're going to go through the steps to download the information from your Sun Nuclear 1027 monitor into the software and then how to save that. First thing we need to do is we need to open up the software package, and we just click on the icon that's on your desktop for that, and the software opens up. You want to make sure at this point that your monitor is plugged in to the power supply and that you have a data cable connected to your computer. You'll note at the top of the software there's multiple buttons. The first button is a file button. You can click on that and there's a clear, open, save, save as, print, printer setup, exit, etc. I just clicked on the exit button, which made me exit the software, so we'll click on that again. Software opens up. The next button is a edit button, and in the edit button the most important one that we're going to deal with is the info button. Next is a COM port button. I'm currently using COM 4. You can see the dot is highlighted next to COM 4. I also have COM 3 available to me, but COM 1 and COM 2 aren't highlighted, so those are currently not available to me. The Get Data button is we click on that when we're ready to download the information from the monitor, and we'll go over that step in a minute. And then there's an About button that tells you what version of the software it is, etc. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to edit the information, and that opens up a separate box, the information setup box. And the most important thing on this box is that we check this Enable Info button. So we have to make sure that there's a checkbox in the Enable Info button, or the information you enter into the information setup box won't go onto your downloaded information. So we're going to click on that, Enable Info. The next thing is this box is where you would enter a new monitor. As you get them, you would enter the serial number along with the monitor number. We're currently using this monitor, which is 165/9020, and it has an in-house monitor number 4. So that's the only one we're currently using, so we double click on that, and that comes over into our Radon monitor serial number box. Then we have a start date, a start time, an end date, and an end time. So we just go in there. You can directly enter that information here, but I find it easier to use the arrow. Click on that, a calendar opens up, and this particular test was started on Sunday the 15th. So we're going to click on that, and the start time was 9:30, and you can enter that by either doing keyboard, or you can do the up-down arrow. I prefer doing the keyboard, so we're just going to enter 9:30. I don't think that the seconds are very meaningful, so you can kind of ignore that if you want to. The end date for this test was October or August 18th, and you can click on that date. Again, this particular one ended at 10:30 a.m., so 10:30 a.m. You can toggle through AM and PM. So we have AM there. We can see that the correct monitor serial number is highlighted, and this particular test was done in the basement. This information will stay here for the next test that you open. So if you use the same monitor, you won't have to enter that. If the test location was in the basement, you won't have to re-enter that. That information will already be there. You'll just have to update the start date and the start time. So once we have all that information in there and we know that our Enable Info button is checked, we're going to click OK. Then we go up to the Get Data button and we click on that. And you'll see at the bottom of the page it says listening for data on COM 4. So we come over to our monitor and we press the print and clear buttons until the light lights. We let go, and then we hit the print button, and that will start the download to the software. And you can see it now says acquiring data on COM 4. Takes a couple of seconds to get that information down there. And it should pop up any second now. And there it is. So here's the information that the monitor provided for us. It has the start date, the start time, the end date, and the end time, along with the serial number and the location of the test. It always prints a signature. I take this out in the report because there's a signature line in the report itself. We don't need a signature on the on this form. And you can see this test actually came in pretty high. 16.5 is our EPA average. There's two averages here. One is the overall average, which is 16.2, and the EPA is 16.5. The reason we have two is because the EPA protocol is to delete the first 4 hours from the reading, because they consider that a ramp-up period where the monitor is adjusting to the place where it's set up, the humidity, the temperature, etc. So the software automatically takes those out, those first 4 hours, and that's why we have an overall average and an EPA average. But it's the EPA average that we're really concerned about. So we have all that information. It all downloaded fine. It looks pretty good. You can see we have a T printed next to one of the hourly readings. That means that the monitor was touched or moved. It will tell me if it's been touched or moved. It will also tell me if there's been a power failure. It will print a P next to the hour that the power failure happened. I don't think this is an issue because the numbers all look pretty good. I don't think anybody tampered with this test, and I'll probably take that T out when I do the final report. So now we want to save this, and we want to go to the File, Save As, and we save it as the client's name. So in this case it's Smith Radon, and your invoice number or your test number, and your test number will be unique to you. It will generally, I use the inspection company's initials and then the date that it was set up and the number of the test that day. So in this case it was test number 1, and we're going to save it as a text file. You have a choice of a text file, and that's all that's in here now. We can put other file types in there, but that's all that's in there now, and that's fine. And we want to save that to, you can see over here there's a Radon Reports icon on the desktop. We want to save that report to that, so we're going to go to Desktop. We're going to click on the Radon Reports, and we're going to save that there. So we now have that test, Smith Radon, is now saved in your Radon Reports file. You can now, once you have that saved, you can clear the information if you want to. You don't have to. You can just exit the program, and it's going to ask you whether you want to save it or not. And it didn't ask me because we already saved it. So that's kind of a fail-safe. It's always going to ask you to save it before you exit the program. And that's it. Then you would take this particular report, you would email that to me, and I will produce the report for you. Thanks for watching.